Streaming wars, right? And then you see the cover of Bloomberg Business Week. You've got all of these helmets with all the logos, Amazon to Hulu. Down here's Apple. Up here is the mouse, right? Disney, Netflix, HBO. The streaming battle for original content and subscribers is about to get bloody, and you, the investor, need to hear about this, right? Because investors are glued to Disney's stock at this hour. The company prepares to report earnings right after the bell. We're about 24 minutes away from that. Disney is up nearly 2% today, but Disney's November 12th rollout of its brand new streaming service, Disney Plus, might have Netflix investors shaking in their boots, according to our next guest, which brings up the question, can Disney dethrone Netflix, the current king of streaming? Here for a Netflix versus Disney bull bear debate, Gerber Kawasaki CEO Ross Gerber and Media Tech Capital Partners managing partner Porter Bibb. Good to see both of you. Ross, to you first. You own both Netflix and Disney, but you're gunning with Disney. You're on their side at this point. Why?
Well, I think mostly because Disney has such a wonderful way to monetize content that Netflix just doesn't have. You know, for example, my kid yesterday bought these new Adidas that are Toy Story versions of Adidas, and Disney makes revenue from so many different places for every piece of content. So now that they have a streamer to put these shows on, it's just an additional revenue stream. Where with Netflix, it's the exact opposite business model, where they spend all this money making shows just for a streaming service, and there's no other monetization. So we think that this is a big problem for Netflix longer term.
Porter, I don't see Vans snapped with the Netflix logo on them. You know, where would Ross's point take you? I mean, beyond we've got a lot of programming.
Well, Disney's had a fantastic run for the first half of this year. They're up since January 28% versus the S&P 500, which is half that, 14%. The problem that they're facing is that they have to spend tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to make Disney Plus and ESPN Plus and their other Hulu to make them attractive to not only subscribers but to investors. And they will start, when they launch Disney Plus, it will still lose couple $100 million a year until 2024. Then it will start to make money.
Based off what? I don't agree at all. I mean, that's just some analysis from some analyst who has no idea what they're talking about. The first day that this launches, it will have Captain Marvel and Avengers Endgame on it, and they will get tens of millions of subscribers right off the bat. It's got an $8 price point. I think it's going to be way more profitable than anybody can imagine.
I agree with you. If you have kids, they're going to shoot you if you don't subscribe to Disney Plus. But the economics of operating a streaming service are horrendous. And Disney, first of all, doesn't have much, if anything, in terms of customer relationship management that Netflix has. They're going to have to spend a lot of money to do that. I know how many times have you gone in and out of Netflix, and they won't let you stop churning. They keep coming, bringing you back into the tent.
But when you go to Disneyland, they track everything you do. Disney knows its customers so well, and Netflix really doesn't know anything about you other than what you watched last week.
Disney's going to do one of these sort of doorbuster loss leader things. I mean, their pricing is so much lower than even the lowest level of Netflix. We can put the prices up. But here's where else. You know, Disney's $6.99, HBO $14.99, but Netflix is about $2 higher there at $8.99. What about comedy? You know, Ross, Netflix dominates in comedy, and I was just talking to Caroline Hirsch of Caroline's Comedy Club. That's the podcast, I guess, tomorrow that everybody should download. But they've got 100 hours last year alone, 100 comedy shows. Disney's not going to get that. You know, look, you got comics who drop the F-bomb and all of that. That's not going to be in Disney's realm. They'll lose out on all of that.
I don't think that's what they're. I don't think that's what they're trying to do. And you know, honestly, the comics in LA are so happy about Netflix. I can't even tell you, because most of these guys were playing the Comedy Club for $100, and now they're getting paid $10 million an hour. So you know, is this really paying off for Netflix? I don't know, but I do like some of it. I don't think that's Disney's business model, though. And where the cost fear lies, you have to remember, Disney's going to make this movie, put it in the theaters, do $1 billion, and then drop it on the street. streamers. So where Netflix makes The Irishman, spends 150 million, drops it on the streamer, and there's no other revenue. So that's why the costs look so horrendous for Netflix. But for Disney, it doesn't really cost them much more than the technology to put the app together.
Porter, as we finish up, you have to tell me Disney is going to bust a move when it opens up its streaming plan with, of course, the big Marvel comic movie that did so unbelievably well.
Absolutely, and I agree with him on one point. They're going to manage the mechanics of a streaming.
He called you some analyst out there. You're agreeing with.
But the investors have to watch the investment that Disney's going to be making in the first 16, 18 months of getting these new streaming services working properly.
If you had to pick a stock of one or two, because right now you got Ross covering his bases, but
I think you're going to see Netflix bounce back once Disney launches, because they're not, Disney Plus is not a Netflix killer. They're going to be all a dozen streaming services. It's the golden age of content for consumers.
Ross, you're covered on both ends then.
Yeah, and I agree with him. I think it's an Amazon Prime killer, but yeah.
Good to see both of you. Thanks for playing along. Ross and Porter, keep it right here on Fox Business. Disney earnings and much more. All the action after the bell. We'll get the results for you as soon as they are released.